meeting today. We'll go ahead and start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the zealous symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you. We will call the meeting to order and start with a roll call, please, Joan.
Chris Mortensen.
Here.
Charles Long. Michael Shaw. Here. Priscilla Benali. Kevin Mitchell.
Here. All right, we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get moving. First item is the approval of the agenda.
Yes, sir. I would like to pull item 4A1 and hear it as a separate item.
For the next board meeting? Is what you're saying?
Or
Pull that and make it a separate item in our next board meeting as an action item by itself?
Or this meeting.
make it for this meeting, we discuss it today, but pull it and discuss it separately.
That's fine. If we have all the information available, we can go ahead and do that.
And with that, I'll make a motion with that correction, approval of agenda.
Okay, just to clarify, Joan, so Michael Schaaf is making a motion that we approve the agenda today with the exception of moving item 4A1 down to a regular action item down to new business.
New business.
Yeah. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Ms. Benali.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes from October 16th?
Make a motion, please.
Okay,
Second?
second by Mr. Schaaf. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Ms. Benali.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. All right, next item is the consent agenda items, all of the items with the exception of the one that we moved down to the regular items.
Motion to approve consent agenda items 4B, 4C, 4D, 4E, 4F, 4G, and 4H.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Ms. Benali.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. All right, down to item 5, study circle. Is there any public comment for today? No public comment today. And then we'll move on to our superintendent report. And for that, I'll turn the time over to Mr. Hyatt.
President Mortensen, members of the board, we wanted to start out today. I'll do my comments after, or my report after, but I'd like to start out by having some of our staff who went on our Kansas City Career Pathways trip. They're going to give a little presentation on that event. I just wanted to mention that Kansas City, the district that we visited, is a school district that a lot of similarities to us in how we're implementing career pathways in the school district. I mean, obviously they're a large school district with 4 large high schools. They don't have the ruralness that we do, but they're a couple years ahead of us in the implementation of some of that kind of work. And so we have sent some teams a few times to that location to kind of get some insight on what it looks like in a different school district. And so this is, I think, the last of our trips that we're going to be sending people to that school district. We sent community members, staff, and one board member, I believe, Ms. Benali went. So I'll turn the time over to Mr. Bell, Assistant Superintendent, to talk about that trip.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. President Mortensen, Superintendent Hyatt, members of the Board of Education, it is with great pride and anticipation today that we're going to reflect on an enlightening journey that not only broadened my perspectives, but also the whole group's perspectives towards pathways and an innovative future for our educational system and our students. 53 individuals, including our board member and myself, went to North Kansas City on October 23rd through 26th in 2023. The main point of this visit is to gain a perspective, understanding what kind of work it takes to build and integrate life skills, career skills into our core curriculum and make it one pathway that a student gets a well-rounded pathway on to graduation where they leave with a skill. It was an awakening trip for me, transformative for me. It was not merely a visit. I was able to tangibly see what the possibilities are that wait for our students in our district with these pathways set up correctly. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Jack McFarland. He's our College Career and Civil Readiness Coordinator, and he's going to give us a little bit of background about why we take people to North Kansas City or Porterville. And he's also going to introduce 3 individuals, and if Ms. Benali would also like to give a little testimonial, that they're willing to give a testimonial about, from our community perspective, Mr. Bill Lee, from our school perspective, Ms. Sheila Ganzone, and from our higher education partners, Mr. John Zimmerman, about what this trip meant to them and how they can see this as moving our overall initiative with college careers forward. Jack McFarland.
Thank you, President Mr. Mortensen, board members, and Superintendent Mr. Hyatt. We're going to do a little bit of a PowerPoint for you, and then we're going to have some people present, and then we'll field questions as we go. So why do a pathway experiential at site visit? Some of the things we learn when we go out to these experiential site visits is career and industry integration. What does that look like when people are working with our communities? Team collaboration and structure, work-based learning, linked learning, branded marketing, and partnerships. These are things that some people are doing really well that we would like to capitalize on and just take a little bit back from them to our place. Why North Kansas City schools? Mr. Hyatt elaborated on a little bit of that. They're very much connected in time-wise with us. Their schools are a little bit larger. They're not as rural as we are, but at the same time, they have some things working as we do. Like working with Connect Ed nationally. They have 3 years of pathways implementation, similar elements like linked learning, work-based learning, community partnerships, CTE, and schools of. Who participated? We had quite a few people go from different areas, which we always like to do because we like to work with our community and our principals and our district leaders. And we made sure that we were able to take a lot of our core content teachers. We took 18 of them because they're one of the specialist teachers that we have that have to bring that career class into their class. And we want to make sure they're very clear on that aspect of it. And then we had a couple SPED teachers because they work with our school loves with the students that they serve also. The high schools visited. You can see that we had Staley, Winnetonka, Oak Park, and North Kansas City. What key aspects were involved in the site visits? So we had some things that we were looking at when we went through, and it's specialized once again for different members, from teachers to administrators to our community members to post-secondary and whatnot. So we have campus tours, classroom visits, discussions and presentations, following different things, anywhere from launch to developing systems of work, to establishing district systems, to high-quality pathways, teacher leaderships, and so on and so forth. What did we learn? These are some of the things that we took off of a survey that we gave our teachers and everybody at the end, and just some key things that we found were relevant across the board. One of them, of course, it was pathways, students, our programs, integrations was really heavy with our educators, and then sessions just to think about different ways to do things. What is one idea or concept you want to bring back and implement at your schools? Some of the biggest things was integration, and then we had ambassadors. A lot of our schools are really wanting to do the ambassadors piece of it to be able to show off their school and their school of, and their students. So we had 53 people attend with us, and we picked some different people from different areas to come speak to us. The first speaker we're going to have is Mr. Bill Lee. He's the CEO of Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. President Mortensen, members of the board, Superintendent Hyatt. First of all, I'd like to thank Gallup McKinley County Schools for giving me a pathway in my life. I am a product of Gallup McKinley County Schools, and proud to say I am. Beyond that, I am honored to have taken this trip. I think it's going to really help us narrow the focus on the Pathways programs and the great work that's already being done. This program has the potential, I believe, of being a driving force, increasing our workforce in Gallup and McKinley County, providing clear expectations of what each pathway can deliver, and by offering meaningful internships in our business community across the pathways is undoubtedly going to be critical to growing our community, and the Pathways is an effective way forward to do this. Through our strong connections across a very broad spectrum of the business community at the Gallup McKinley County Chamber of Commerce, both public and private sectors, the Chamber can play an important role in getting businesses to participate, not only through classroom presentations, but through internships and eventually into mentoring. These strong partnerships will bring our young people the opportunity to hopefully limit the brain drain that we currently see. We must begin to show that we have opportunity here, but we genuinely also care about their well-being and that we trust them to lead our future. And I believe Pathways begins to build all of those components when it comes to generating goodwill in our community and increasing the workforce and giving our young people a chance to really excel in Gallup and McKinley County. Understanding the roadblocks and the challenges faced by those who have forged ahead of us, which is what we saw in Kansas City. It wasn't all fluff, it wasn't all pretty pictures. They shared very openly their challenges. That proved to be extremely beneficial, I think, to the entire group, and should help us integrate and mitigate the programming by hopefully avoiding some of those pitfalls that were experienced. You know, growing up, I used to marvel at my grandfather. My grandfather was a man who saw us go from a horse and buggy to the automobile to jet plane travel to seeing a man on the moon, and I used to think, I will be lucky if I ever see that kind of change in my lifetime. Now we see that kind of change every 5 years. It's amazing how quickly the world is changing, and these pathways have got to be agile and nimble. We need to focus on infrastructure. What we saw in Kansas City was mind-boggling, and those schools that had the right infrastructure excelled excessively in the Pathways program. So it's not just about putting the programming in place, but it's making sure that we have the correct infrastructure. Purpose-built schools for Pathways, and I know that Gallup McKinley County Schools is looking at a big facility that will enhance that learning. It's critical that we support that. And you can count on the Gallup McKinley County Chamber to be behind you and supporting you in that effort as you move forward as a district. These facilities also need to be easily upgraded and adaptable to an ever-changing and advancing business community. It was a great pleasure and a great honor to travel with a professional team that really does show how much they care about educating our youth and the future of our community by providing a workforce that will be strong, stable, knowledgeable, and ready to go to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? Mr. Lee, Billy?
Yes.
Just from an outsider standpoint, when you were out there, and I know this is just kind of off the cuff, when you were there looking at these schools, like what did you see? I mean, the demographics of the schools and relative to the career pathways. I mean, is this something that's like only for white kids, or only for Native American kids, or only rich kids, or only, or what does this work for?
That's a great question, Mr. President, members of the board. I will tell you, I got to visit 2 schools. I think that was kind of the plan, is each of us got to visit 2. Not all of us went to the same 2. The 2 schools I visited are the one that you see there on the left, Staley, and then I also went to Winnetonka. Okay? Staley, a very affluent school district, a very affluent part of that district. Okay? Winnetonka, I would liken it to probably our Gallup High School, okay? So very affluent, more Caucasian students at Staley than there were other ethnicities. Winnetonka, on the other hand, had more ethnicities than Caucasian students. What I will tell you is that was where my comment that you heard me talk about purpose-built schools comes from. So Winnetonka is a school that was built, 50 years ago, okay? About 50 years old. Staley, a fairly new facility, also with a brand new addition on it, which was purpose-built for the pathways themselves. And you could see the difference in not only the way the students moved, but the way they connected and the way the whole system worked and progressed. The pathways simply worked better in that school. When I asked the question at Winnetonka, how do you deal with not being a purpose-built facility? They said it presents big challenges. And they are, in fact, in the process of building a big facility outside of the high school now that will incorporate those pathways. To your point, is it for just white kids? No.
Just any kids? Is it
This
just for?
is, I will tell you, I was so impressed on both presentations by kids who got up across all genders, across all ethnicities, who got up, and I can't tell you the last time I saw a high school junior or sophomore excited enough to give me a 15-minute speech about their school day. Right? They love it. They're engaged. And we know that engagement drives performance. Right? When you're emotionally committed to something, you're going to give your discretionary effort. And that's what you see. Discretionary effort coming from these kids into their pathways programs because they know at the end of the day it is going to pay dividends in their life. And I think that's what's important. I hope that answers your question.
No, I did. Did you see much? I mean, and maybe you didn't see this when you were there. Did you see much buy-in or anything from the business community in these areas?
Tremendous buy-in. And we have to do a better job of that. In fact, I think Mr. Bell, Mr. McFarland will tell you, I kept saying after each visit, we have to do a better job at the chamber. We have to do a better job as a business community to get kids integrated into this. That being said, we also need to have our programs more focused. We all came away with that because if I went to the business community right now and said, here's what we want you to participate in, we just don't have enough muscle hanging on the bone yet, right? We've got a great idea, great concept, and we're implementing things. We just need more muscle on the bone so that I can get that buy-in from the business community.
We'll have to host, like a business after hours. Tell everybody there will be all kinds of alcohol, and then not have it.
Well, I will tell you that, we are very committed, both Lori and myself. Lori, who is my assistant, soon to be the next Bill Lee and CEO of the chamber once I retire because I'm getting older. Once that happens, we are completely bought in on the program and pathways and know that it is the way forward for our district and for our community.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Lee. President Mortensen, board members, Mr. Hyatt. We have next John Zimmerman, Dean of Instruction, UNM Gallup.
Good afternoon, everyone. President Mortensen, members of the board, Superintendent Hyatt. I'm John. I'm the Dean of Instruction at UNM Gallup. I've been at UNM Gallup since 2006, and I started as faculty, became a department chair, and now I'm the Dean of Instruction. So I want to thank everybody from the group for inviting me to be on this trip. It was really a wonderful experience. And I spent all my life in higher ed. My whole career has been higher ed since I went to graduate school. I got out, started teaching, and I've been in higher ed ever since. So to see these different high schools was a very eye-opening experience, and I have to harken back to a long time ago when I was in high school, and it was a much, much different experience, especially when you consider the pathways. The pathways would have been really helpful for me when I was in high school because I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist, I wanted to make ceramics, and I wanted to teach ceramics, and that's what I ended up doing. And so to have something that was more focused towards my goals as opposed to spending times on things where maybe my skills didn't really match that, or my interest level didn't match that, I would have been probably a much more engaged learner in high school if I would have been in the pathways. So, but today I want to talk a little bit about how the pathways affect higher ed, because we partner with GMCS on providing like the dual credit experience. That's a requirement, one of the three sort of final requirements for students engaging in a pathway. So we've been working with Wade and Jack and Arnell for a number of months now and figuring out what the scale of this issue is, what kind of service do we need to provide, how that affects the college, and how do we incorporate these students into the culture of the university, but primarily to make sure that they're successful, right? To ensure they're successful. Obviously, they have to do it. They have to come to class, they have to do the homework, they've got to put the work in, they've got to do the studying, and so the conversations we're really starting to have now are centered around student support. How do we make sure we support the students that come up to the college, because it's very different to take a high school class than to take a college class. The expectations are different, the pressures are different, the freedoms are different. You're not going to have your teacher chasing you around to turn in an assignment, or if you miss class or you miss a test. Faculty do not chase students around for that stuff. This is the student's responsibility. So we're working at figuring out how do we support the students that come up to the college to make sure they're as successful as they can possibly be. So I went to North Kansas City High School, but then I also went to Metro Community College, which was a really relevant experience. So a group of us went to the local community college that serves pathways for North Kansas City schools. The scale that they're serving is much smaller than the scale that we're serving. So they had, I think, 184 students in their pathway program. Right now, we serve a population of over 700 high school students with the McKinley Academy, with our CCTE, the Center for Career Technology Education, and then with the local charter school that's housed on our campus. Over 700 students. Plus, we have pathway students who we're talking other numbers of, upwards of 150 just in the health pathway alone. So the numbers are pretty large and the scale is pretty substantial. So one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot is how to develop a true partnership with the district, so that way we understand what the district needs are, what the students' needs are, but then also so that the district understands what the university's needs are and what our limitations and our resources are. And then if we can figure out where we need to add to kind of highlight what Bill was saying, there needs to be substantial investment in our schools here, obviously, if we build new schools or if we retrofit existing schools, or if we're talking about the university, there needs to be substantial investment, because the tax bases, those areas of those schools we saw are pretty extraordinary. Like, it was really, really fancy, in some of those areas. So we need to figure out how to work together as the district and the college on advocating for more resources to give our students that level of education. Because our students deserve it as well, right? It shouldn't be dictated just on the tax base of this area. These students deserve excellent education, excellent teachers, excellent faculty, and excellent facilities. And we need to work together to figure out how to bring that together. So I've been in this position since July 1st, so relatively pretty new, but I've been working with Jack and Wade and the team for quite some time. So that's kind of the partnership I'm committed to, and that the university is committed to, is serving the needs of the community, but also figuring out a way to build this partnership together so that we can move forward and get the resources that all of our students need. Because in the end, like Bill was saying, if we can work together on this and build this thing up and really focus on these pathways and get these students to be successful, then it can have a transformative effect on the entire community. I think that's
Thank you.
Nope, no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Next up, we have Ms. Sheila Gonzon. She is a career course teacher, Crown Point High School.
Thank you, Mr. Parlin, and good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Mike Hyde, and to the Board of Directors. Thank you also, Mr. Bell, for this invitation. I was really quite nervous to be here. It's my first time. but there's always a place for that one. So I participated in the school tours, particularly in Winnetonka and Staley High School. I also joined their deep dive session on the work-based learning and the high-quality pathways learning and teaching. Being able to participate in these activities actually build on my existing cognition already of the pathway program and the extent to which we can do more for our students, particularly to close the opportunity gap as an organization to prepare our students for college and career readiness. That in the Pathway program, we are not only setting the stage for our students to learn academically, but also the soft skills that they will be needing in college. Exposure, immersion in their internship and on-the-job training through industry and community partnership plays an important role in our students for them to be able to have that career experience. One of the quote that made an impact to me was there's a quote in Winnetonka. It says, "One goal at a time." I've seen how the pathways have evolved in our district, particularly at Crown Point High, where I've been, from its virtual conception up to the present. The goals that we have set for our students are quite ambitious, but in a positive way. I've witnessed a lot of good things that we can emulate to lay the groundwork for our students to be globally competitive, such as provisions for resources, to highlighting the pathways in different ways, and in and out of our schools, and to involve the entire student body in the pathway. Not only certain students, but everyone. There should be an equity. As a pathway educator, I feel like I am compelled to apply the shift in the methodology of my instruction and build on the learning style of my students to prepare them for college, and also providing that lifetime of opportunity for all of them. I also feel that by maximizing our pathway resources in a variety of ways can provide more meaningful and purposeful instructional outcome with a simultaneous inculcation of more problem-based projects in my classroom involving our potential and existing community and existing industry partners and community resources in my teaching. I feel like if I'm going to do this one, I will be able to provide my students the college-ready experience for them. And there are some factors that I noted that can impact relevant education to our students. The first thing that I see as an educator is we need to have the educators buy-in, because that is a very significant tools to affect the change. Because the educator serves as the navigator to keep the students on track. And then connecting the pathway educational experience to students' life and interest, this will spark their keenness to succeed. And last but not the least, make the pathway equitable to all students. Because right now we are not there yet, but hopefully soon we can include everybody in the schools so that all students will be able to experience and be prepared for their careers in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions, board members? Anybody? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzone. We also had Ms. Benali, who attended the Kansas City with us, and we'd like to hear some words from her if we could.
It's a lot of words.
Make her go to that microphone, or she get the luxury of her own microphone?
Thank you very much. Yes, I did attend. It was very, as Mr. Lee said, eye-opening for us, especially for a board member. I went in and saw two schools, Winnetonka and Staley were the two schools I visited. And I think the first thing I saw stepping into both schools was the safety aspect of how they really take care of just the first step into the building. They had security there, and they just had, I don't know how many cameras the security was looking at. You had to put your ID in, and then it printed off a little name tag with your picture on it. So I think the safety aspect of that was very critical to me as a board member. The other thing that I want to mention that was mentioned here already are the 4 pathways. The first one was School of Business, Leadership, and Entrepreneurship. The second was School of Design, Innovation, and Technology. Third was the School of Health and Wellness. Fourth was School of Human Services. And I like those pathways because they're overarching umbrellas of what is already being implemented into our schools. But we're all, to me, when we got the list, one of our teachers wrote down like Thoreau High is doing this, this, and this. Crompoint is doing this, and pathway. We were kind of all over the place. And I was telling one of the group, in our group session, I said, Thoreau has media. And a lot of the kids are coming and saying, I don't want media. Our parents was like, well, why is my kid taking media? But if we had an overarching umbrella like design, innovation, and technology, that sparks an interest in saying, wow. I mean, even for me as a parent, I'd be like, wow, my kid is taking this pathway of design, innovation, and technology. And I think that's where the buy-in will start, because you can fit all of our pathways underneath one of these four. We have nursing, we have automotive, we have all these different bring what they're doing to our area so our kids understand what we're trying to do for them. And an example is what our kids are doing. Our kids are learning jewelry, pottery, besides the other pathways that they take with their education. But to make money, sometimes our kids have to help their parents. How are we teaching them to make beautiful bracelets that they make and do their own advertising, do their own sales, instead of taking it somewhere that they're going to get $50 for, and then the next day it's going to be selling for $600. So how are we teaching them how that kind of business section works? So I think if we try to look at it, how we can localize it, that would be great. And the other thing that I saw a lot of were these other different titles. One school had assistant principal, I think it was called, Mr. Bell, and Stanley for each pathway was an assistant principal or assistant.
Yes, but with 2,000 students, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they each had like different people that oversaw those areas. So would we need to look at our organizational chart, I'm sorry. I don't know. Those were just kind of some of the things that I picked up. The internships were awesome. It's going to work for our schools here. How are we going to implement internships for our students in the rural areas? How are we going to start advertising, getting the buy-ins from our parents? I know this is something, our building's not even going to be built yet, but I think if we start talking about it, start letting people know this is what we're doing, and it won't be so much as a shock, I guess, at the end, because this is a good thing. I mean, I really enjoyed this trip. I saw the wonderful things. The kids were talkative. They would talk. There was great things that they had access to in each classroom. And the student ambassadors was another thing that I really liked. They were very outgoing and talkative. They knew everything that was happening within their pathways. The other thing is they had an IEC. Maybe if we implement the IEC, we'll get our JOM monies. But it's called Industrial Executive Council is what they call their IEC. But that's one thing that helped continue to communicate with businesses and other areas that, like, where we're talking about the colleges and all of our other stakeholders. So those are just kind of some of the things that I saw, and I think if we continue with the training, communicating all of this information out and not just keeping it in. And I know we're doing other things. I see it now that, I went and I visited. I understand it. Like when we got the reports or we got the information on it, it's like, oh, that's what that is. So, but actually experiencing it and going there and seeing these schools and honestly praying about it to when this is going to be implemented into our schools, our kids will benefit. Our kids will, because we're hands-on, where everything our kids are doing is going to be excelling. So thank you for the invite. I appreciate the conversation with our staff, with Mr. Lee and his staff, and with UNM, also with NTU was there. And their vision, I think we're all looking in the same vision that we want our kids to get to. So I appreciate the invitation and the new experiences that I saw.
Thank you so much, Ms. Benelli. As a side note to what we were talking about is we do have Nikki Hallsworth on staff now, which is a person that is helping us with our marketing. We do know that that is one area that we really need to really emphasize in our schools is which pathways are in that building. And the ELT has discussed taking that upon ourselves. Mr. Hyatt can bring up that we will look at that marketing when you walk in that building. That's something that the ELT would be looking at. Any further questions?
Any questions, board members?
Not a question, but a comment. I think that, I hear, the importance of pathways and all the things that are needed to make this work, which are resources, the buy-in, and actual engagement. I really think that, as Gallup McKinley County, we are very well capable of, putting all this together and making our pathways successful. As of right now, I know that the pathways that we do offer are being utilized in a very great way, and our children are excelling and thriving in those pathways that we do offer at this time. And it's going to be so great to see when we're able to expand these and that we're able to put a larger group of our children out there to be job ready, to be ready to face the future, and in hopes that we're going to be the ones to help them and get them ready for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Thanks, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you.
And one of the things we do hope to bring is this Pathway Institute to our district. You can come and see our district in the future. So possibly next year, that would be, instead of going to North Kansas or to Porterville, that they come here.
And we did do a tour last year at Thoreau and Gallup High and a little bit with Miyamura. And I had a chance to go to Kansas last year, and I'm going to attest that our students, in my opinion, as ambassadors at Thoreau High specifically, did a better job than any school I visited across the country as far as meeting with that group that visited and explaining what they were involved in their pathways, showing us around the building. It was super impressive, and so we'll be doing some of those internally again this year, where we'll have the board and others be able to tour our schools to see the work that's being accomplished. There is interesting in Kansas. They have some luxuries, and we have some luxuries too in the way that we can do things. And so it's going to looks a little bit different for us, but it's a great district that we can kind of gauge ourselves off of as we go forward in this work. So thank you.
They're the district that is wall to wall that Mr. Hyatt has asked us. Every student gets a chance in pathways. Same thing in North Kansas. That's why we chose that district. Porterville this year.
Yeah, not most school districts in the country that are doing pathways don't have that, and so that was a requirement that we made. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any
Next.
questions?
So maybe, Mr. President, maybe the board could be a practice for the upcoming one, that we can go visit the schools and they can show us what they're doing, what pathway they're doing, and before the big one where we invite everybody over, you know?
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that would be something.
We can do it however, either way, so,
Thank you.
thank you. Next item.
All right, any other things to report, Mr. Hyatt? Appreciate it.
That's it for that presentation, but I have a report.
Okay, perfect.
President Mortensen, members of the board, I just want to go over a few things that have happened recently. We've had a lot of presentations and things happening in our board meetings, so I just want to give you some updates. I want to appreciate the board. I heard it from many staff about the retention addenda that we do every year, that we started about 6 years ago. This last week,
Can you
it has
repeat
to be.
again?
It's given out at the end of October for the one for 2 years prior, and then the new one goes out the first part of November. And so again, we've been doing this for 6 years, and it's been a great benefit, not only for our staff, they obviously deserve it, but also it's been a great benefit to help retaining staff. We have gone, 10 years ago, we were at approximately a 60% retention rate for teachers, and we're at about approximately 90% retention rate for teachers, having to do with retirements or resignations. So that's pretty impressive. And if you compare that to most large school districts, which we are the 4th largest in New Mexico, we have a higher retention rate than many of them. So thank you. Also, as you may have heard, the data was finally unembargoed recently, late last week. And so we're putting data together now to make sure that for the next board meeting, we're ready to recognize our schools that grew the most, be able to share that data with them, and it's going to be an exciting time. We're going to have 11 schools come here, at least 10 to 11 schools that will be coming here to receive their awards. And they'll also get their incentives for the growth. So it's anywhere from $1,000 for every staff member up to $2,500 for every staff member if they came in first place for the district. So that's going to be fun. I want to let you know that we had tribal consultation last week with the Navajo Nation, and we had a very, very good discussion with them. We had their staff and our staff have just some great conversation about budgets and money and where's it going and where we can work together more. And it was just we appreciate the Department of Data and Education, the DOTI staff, for the conversation, the opportunity to meet with them. And we went a little bit longer than we were supposed to, so that was good because the conversation was so good. But we talked about, kind of tying into what we just talked about with pathways, we actually talked with them because we had a little bit of tough time finding internships and people to respond back to us from the Navajo Nation. And so we're going to work on a proposal through DOTI to get our students having opportunities in internships, especially in our rural areas. And so that's going to be a great connection. Also, for the bilingual seal, we talked about offering that at the 10th and 11th grade. Right now, it's only allowed at the 12th grade level. The better gauge for students' growth with respect to proficiency in the Dene language. So we're going to talk more about that. We also talked about opportunities to connect and to work together for legislation and making sure funding is coming back to our area for our students, especially when you look at Native American funding right now, it's distributed very unequally across the state of New Mexico. And Dene students are getting the short end of the stick on that. And so the Navajo Nation, Central Consolidated, Gallup McKinley County Schools, and others, it's a great idea for us to get together to work legislatively to make sure those dollars are coming back to our school districts fairly. Lastly, I just want to mention, we didn't touch on this, but there's going to be other conversations. I've had some conversations with DOTI on the Johnson O'Malley funding. And I know you mentioned IEC a minute ago, Ms. Benali, but actually the school board is the IEC. By federal law, you're allowed to do that. We go above and beyond that and have a PAC, a Parent Advisory Committee. And so we actually go above federal law in the regulations in order to receive those fundings. And so we'll have some more conversations making sure hopefully those dollars can come back to the school district. In the meantime, we've actually covered all those costs from our operational budget and other funds, and set aside funds from the impact aid dollars that we receive. And so we're still providing all those resources to our students that were being provided by JOM funding. So our students have not missed out. That's a positive thing. The McKinley Academy, we've been in a few meetings with the UNM Gallup and UNM main campus. We have gotten approval on your end, obviously, because you approved it in the board meeting, but on their end too, to build our new McKinley Academy facility on the UNM campus. A site has already been selected, and we're meeting tomorrow with UNM to start the design process. And so we're super excited about that. Obviously, that program has grown exponentially. We have almost 500 students in our early college program, McKinley Academy, and as we have looked across the Southwest, we could probably look across the whole West. We haven't found a larger per capita early college program anywhere that we've looked, meaning that we have more students for the size that we are in an early college program than we see anywhere. And that speaks to the work that we're doing. And the reason why that is because we're tearing down the barriers to get our students to be a part of that program, whether it's transportation or paying for the fees or making sure that it's their choice to come to the program. A lot of school districts have prerequisites that are pretty stringent. You can't play in sports, you can't do this, you can't do that. We've done everything we can to accommodate all students to have that opportunity in an early college program, and it's paying off. And it's more importantly, it's important for our students, and they're benefiting. A few more things. I know we talked about this last time with construction projects. I want to let you know that right now, Through High School is in design, and just the start of it for the design for their new high school. We had to do a feasibility study for Navajo Pine High, Crown Point High School, and Crown Point Middle School, and Gallup High. So those feasibility studies have now been completed, and so now we'll be able to move towards the design for those schools also. So there's going to be a lot of projects coming up. We're super excited because it's been a long time coming. Now if we can just keep the state in line to make sure that they're going through the approval process appropriately and timely, so we can get those projects underway. Next is, just wanted to remind everybody, there's been some questions about the activity buses that we just have started getting repainted and brought in as new buses. We have the painted buses, right? Every single high school has their own painted activity bus that has their mascot and things on the side and their name of their school. We have purchased and or repainted 11 other activity buses so that all of our activity buses aren't just a yellow bus, right? For this case, we have one team going with the new bus that's painted. They'll also have a painted bus, but they're painted more universally so they can be used by all schools. But they look pretty nice. I know we sent out information on that, posted it on Facebook, but it's a great design, and we want our students to be proud when they go to other schools to play in their sports or activities. You have a copy here at the desk. We also have been mailing these out, and they'll all be out by next week, but we started a new magazine called Elevate. It's a GMCS produced magazine that will go out to every single household in the county at least 4 times a year. You have a copy of our first edition. We're going to highlight about 4 different stories in those, talking about the things happening in Gallup McKinley County schools. We're trying to do it, though, not just an informational thing about what we're doing, but trying to do it through the lens of the people involved in those things. For example, pathways. Let's talk to students and parents and educators about what the pathways mean to them and how they're being successful in those. We did an article on Daryl Antone talking about his kind of growing up or moving forward through Gallup McKinley County Schools and the different positions that he's had and kind of his experience as a local resident and his experience. It's kind of a recruiting, retention type of article to talk about what a great place it is to work in Gallup McKinley County Schools. And so there's just a few different articles like that. Again, it's not just like an information thing we're going to plug out. We're kind of trying to look at things through the lens of people, a human piece. The last couple things, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that there was no school tomorrow. Only 12-month employees will be at work tomorrow. And this is, again, due to the new law that moving forward will be in place that was passed last year, that there will be no more school allowed on the voting day. And so just so people understand why tomorrow is there's no school. Also, there's no school on Friday. It's Veterans Day, correct? So it's a short week. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that we did have some students yesterday, and that'll be on Facebook hopefully today. It's supposed to be some information about. We actually had a JITA group that's just local people, leaders in the area. We had some of our students present to them. They actually came from Yamura. We had 3 seniors and 1 junior that came over and talked about their pathway experience, and it was awesome. And so I know Mr. Lee was here along with some others. They got to hear of their experiences, and that's what we want students to be able to do, and they did it very well. They weren't like really prepped. They were given some questions to answer, and they talked about their pathway experience, and those are the types of opportunities we want our students to have. We're successful in this work when we can hear our students talking about it, thinking about their futures, realizing that school is valuable to them, that it's benefiting them now. It's not just something that they're going to go learn about in the future, their future career goals, but they're actually setting those goals now and getting some experiences. And I remember one of the students that was speaking on Friday said, yeah, I found out that I don't want to do this. And so that's a good thing. Before she goes to college or whatever it might be to get her training in that field, she realized she probably wants to try something else. And so she was able to figure out like what it is through that experience of what it is that she wants to be involved in. And so that was super exciting to see. So that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. Any questions, board members?
Mr. Mortensen, yes, I
Yes,
do.
ma'am.
Mr. Hyatt, when you have your next tribal consultation, can you let the board know so we can, if we're available, we can attend with you? Also, you mentioned the bilingual seal having to start from 10, 11, and 12th grade. How are they, like the kids that are in 10th grade can test out for the bilingual seal, or how, can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure, I'll answer the first question also. The first question is we have a consultation. Wade, when is our Zuni tribal consultation? It's not quite scheduled yet, but it'll be soon. So when we get that one scheduled, we'll let you know about that. And we talked about, Dodie, about having more regular conversations with them throughout the year, so there may be some others coming in the spring. But as far as the testing, so the bilingual seal is given, the Navajo Nation only provides that for seniors to find out about their proficiency on that exam. But like most assessments, you're able to take them throughout your high school experience, at least, sometimes freshman, sophomore, junior year. We at least wanted to give students the opportunity to take that assessment in the sophomore and junior year so that they could see what their progress is. They know how fluent they are at the sophomore year, and they can take it again at the junior year to see if they've progressed, and we can see if they've progressed, and then take that assessment at their senior year. So we're already doing some interim assessments now, as we've talked about before with our students, but it's nice to have that standardized test at the Navajo Nation level so that we can help them see where they're at per that test. And so that's what we asked. Can that test be given at the sophomore and junior level and not just the senior level, so that we can gauge that learning? And so we even said if we had to pay for it or pay for people to come proctor those exams, we'd be willing to do that. And so we're going to have more conversation about that.
And my other question is, so your conversation with Dodie on the JOM, do they understand and recognize that this board is the IEC with the implementation of the PAC? Are they now willing to provide the funding that was allocated? And the one thing that I'm worried about is our student count for future funding. Was that in discussion also? Because I think at this time we're not being counted.
Ms. Benali, we actually didn't have a conversation as a group about JOM. I have had conversations with members of Dodie about that, and we discussed having future conversations. And so what their current understanding is with their staff, I can't speak to. I just was mentioning that we've had some conversations. We didn't have it at this time, other than that we wanted to meet more and talk.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Any other questions?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say, I think it would be a really great idea if we were able to do the bilingual seal and be able to have our 10th and 11th graders test as well. That way, like I said, they'll know if they're progressing or not, and then we'll also know if how our program is doing. To me, that would be our grade system as well. And I also wanted to say, I'm really glad that, I know that it was out there that, because of JOM, our kids were being neglected. And I just want to say that none of our children in Gallup McKinley County schools are being neglected in any way. We had schools last year who didn't raise enough money for their prom, which is normally paid for by a club or a class. Gallup McKinley County Schools did provide that funding, so our students were able to enjoy prom. Not only that, as we all know, we had our business group from Tohatchee who came up short twice in a row, and Gallup McKinley County stepped up and paid for their way to make sure that our kids were not left out and they were able to go to nationals. We continue to do laptops, iPads, caps and gowns, school supplies. So, you know, I just want to make it clear that Gallup McKinley County school students are never neglected, and we would never do that. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Mr. Mitchell.
I can keep going on that. Free access to games, culturally relevant curriculum in all areas. I know
Free college education.
Free college education, but we provide more to our students. I would dare somebody to go find out there a district in New Mexico or probably anywhere in the Southwest that provides more for their students than we do. And let's have a conversation, because if there is, we want to find out what that is and how they're pulling that off. Because we are looking for opportunities every single day to take care of holistically take care of our students. So.
Just to add on to that, I appreciate you starting your conversation with the retention incentives, that we have done that for 6 years. And I think that was one of the latest ones I heard was, you know, why are they barely doing this now, election time? But, you know, they need to really research what they're talking about. And there's a lot of miscommunication that is happening, even about impact aid funds and Yazi Martinez. You know, people are saying that we were sued, and I'm like, we weren't the ones sued. We were the ones that were suing. So I think, you know, the research needs to be there, and I'm thankful you did mention that we've done this already for 6 years in the past to help our staff and provide that funding.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to draw your attention down to Notices Communications. It just has our calendar for the next, I guess it's 2 months now, all the way to the end of December. It includes winter break. That takes us down to new business. I would like to entertain a motion in the interest of time to move our executive session up before any of the new business.
So moved.
Okay, and a second from somebody?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Yes.
Ms. Benali?
Just real quick, just to ask if we're doing this correctly, would that be the motioning party that approved the agenda to make that amendment to put executive session before business?
I don't think he would have to do that, but I believe the president has the leeway to adjust the schedule as needed.
I was just entertaining a motion if anybody made one, and Mr. Schaaf made one, and Mr. Mitchell seconded it. And so we're just voting on the motion that's on the table.
Yeah, nothing's being skipped, and so the order of it is okay.
If we're moving it from one area before another one, that's what I'm saying. Is that I'm not saying I don't object to the motion. I'm just saying that the motioning party that made, like we did for pulling 4A1 out, with that, let's see, that motioning party, could they also just add that? If we were going to do that from the beginning?
They could have, but they didn't.
Yeah, we could have.
Okay. Never mind.
It's your vote.
It's your vote.
Oh, yes?
Yes, all right, there we go.
Mr. Schaaf?
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen?
Yes.
159.
Okay, we'll retire to, go ahead, I'm sorry. We probably need to make a motion to go into executive session now.
Motion to move into executive session.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Benali?
Yes.
Mr. Schaaf?
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen?
Yes. All right, we'll go into executive session. It's 2:00.
Yes, 2 o'clock.
I'll entertain a motion to return from executive session. All right, second, anybody down there?
Second.
Second by Priscilla. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell? Yes. Ms. Benali?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen?
Yes.
3:36.
All right, we're back in session. Let's go ahead with our new business. We'll take it in order that we have. Item 6A. Oh, yeah. Let's, it's a long paragraph here. I'll let you read on your own. We talked with our attorney about these different legal matters that we have facing our district, and there was no decisions made, no action taken, no votes taken or anything like that in executive session. That's the report. Let's go on to our new business, item 6A.
President Mortensen, members of the board, we had been given the task to create another schedule for graduation dates. In that conversation, we created it and decided that we would do a survey with the seniors to also get some more data on what they wanted. And so on the last page of your packet, it shows the survey itself, a couple scenarios that we think fit what was asked in the last meeting. And then on the left side are the results from the survey for the schools.
Okay, any questions, board members? All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the graduation date.
You have to pick what option you're approving.
Okay.
Motion to approve option 1.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mitchell. Let's go ahead and vote on that one, and if there's another motion after that, we'll, if we have to, we'll vote on that. Go ahead, roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Benali?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen?
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen, can I just comment
Yes,
on
ma'am.
something?
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for looking into this again and taking it even a step further by surveying the seniors of their recommendation. I think that was very important, and I just asked for you guys to give us a different option, but to survey the seniors that took it above and beyond. So I really do appreciate that. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for the feedback. All right, next item is the one that we moved down from the consent agenda item, approval of Tohatchee High School replacement, the RFP 2024-07HC from October 26, 2023. Is there a motion?
We also have Ms. Hanks here. Do you have any?
Okay.
If you can talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
go ahead.
before-
That's fine.
President Mortensen, members of the board, Superintendent Hyatt, and members of the audience, the competitive solicitation process is pretty uniform in its nature. Essentially, there's a set of criteria that's included and a set of items that have to be provided within the proposals that are submitted. Once those proposals are submitted, the committee is convened. The committee is from knowledgeable individuals within the school district. They apply the criteria that was in the original solicitation to the submittals, and they're scored individually based upon the number of submitters. That plus the price is opened actually by the procurement official who's in charge of the solicitation, and there is a matrix that is done based upon points, based upon the amount of price that's submitted, and then they're totaled, and the one with the higher total is submitted to the board for approval.
Ms. Hanks, a quick question. I don't know if you mentioned at the beginning, this is a PSFA specified process, not a district specified process. Is that accurate?
Yes, correct. So this is a combined PSFA project. So PSFA actually requests that we utilize their solicitation document in order to go out for these construction projects when they are paying a portion of the fee.
And this evaluation criteria, Richard Dix is from PSFA, right? And then Giovanna, of course, is you, and then Eddie Begay is another employee of our school district? Is that
Correct. Mr. Begay has been with the district for several years now. We stole him fair and square from NHA.
Good. We'll keep that between the two of us.
And just for information's sake, for people that don't know, there is a consideration of these companies being local, correct?
Ms. Benally, correct. So PSFA looks at New Mexico-based companies?
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, any other questions?
With that, Mr. Mortensen, I'd like to go ahead and motion for this to be approved by, let me restate that. Mr. Mortensen, I would like to motion the approval of the Tohatchi School Replacement RFP 24, oh gosh, I don't have my glasses on. THC, October 26, 2023.
Okay, all right, any other, second on that? Second? Anybody?
Dies?
We're gonna table it if we don't get a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schaaf. Yes? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Benali?
Yes.
Mr. Schaaf?
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen?
Yes. All right, that concludes our business for today. I will entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second, roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Benali?
Yes.
Mr. Schaaf?
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen?
Yes.
3:42.
All right.
I made a boo-boo on this. Look over here, I guess Giovanna entered this. Can we move this to the next one? This one says to MOU between the city and the Gallup for perimeter